Today I'm going to talk about how to include Scholastic news in your Seesaw activities. So as you can see, I've already gone to the Create New Activity page by clicking the green button, Assign Activity, and going on to Create New Activity. So I'm going to go onto my Scholastic page now, and I'm going to see which articles I would like to assign to my students. So we're going to do that. This plant stinks. And I'm going to be looking to see what I would want my students to do first. So in the beginning of the week, I typically have them watch the video and do some KWL charts or noticings and wonderings or just answering questions about the video. So I'm going to go on to the Seesaw, and in the instructions I'm going to tell students to go to their Scholastic News logins. In order to help students who may not have their iPads from school, a helpful tool would be to give them the Scholastic News login. I would then be sure to copy that link, and when I go back onto Seesaw, I am then going to go to add multimedia instructions or example, and click on here for the link. This is where I will then copy paste and log in. They have been having some issues with giving a picture when you do your links, so don't be afraid if you get that kind of gray box with the line. Your link will still work. Just know that Seesaw has a lot more use lately, and so some things are kind of slowing down. So fortunately for us right now, the picture came up to show students what they would be logging into. So I'd hit the green button. And then I would make sure to talk about what video and being specific, since I will not be able to help my students in person. Students to work on is going to be from This Plant Stinks. And looking at the page, I usually start off our Scholastic News with the video to get their prior knowledge going and kind of give them that background information before they read. So I won't be able to click the video into my lesson, so I need to make sure that students understand what the title of the video would be and also what article they would find it under. So I'm going to be putting it under This Plant Stinks, and they will be watching the video, What Do Plants Need? And so then again, I'd make sure to give them the right video, and then after watching the video, you'll answer questions. You know, always check to make sure you're not too wordy with your directions. I then would create a template to help with student understanding after the video. I did copy an activity, and so these are questions that came from the previous video that I had my students watch. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to go back and unlock the ones that I've already created and start typing out the questions that I would prefer students to answer after the video. I can do either a KWL chart, any questions or wondering students may have, but for purposes for this activity, I'm going to be doing some questions that they can answer to show me what they learned. The neat part about Scholastic News is that it allows for me to also kind of have pre-made questions already done to go with it. So if I was having some difficulty with coming up with better questions, I can look here and kind of know what questions would go along with the video. I could upload the PDF onto that file as well if the questions weren't as large and that students would have space to answer. So for right now, I'm just going to show how I could type up that activity onto the Seesaw account. So this would be, what is one thing plants need? The next question would be, why do plants need this? To follow up on that last question. Is talking about unusual plants, it would be important for me to show how many students show me what was something unusual that you learned. And again, because I'm creating these questions for students, I will need to go back and lock them in place so they don't need to be moved. And then these tools will already be ready for students to type into. After I'm done, I can hit that green check, or if I have the premium version, I can also add a page where I can have students, as an extra credit, draw a picture of what you learned in the video. Or I could have them record maybe a summary or whatever I feel would be best for students and would be enjoyable for them to use with Seesaw. After I'm done, I would make sure that I save this activity, get back to class. Now when I'm ready to add that activity into my students' activity page, I would hit Add, Assign Activity, and it should be right here in the very front. When I assign it to students, I do want to make sure that I put it in that folder for that week that I would want students to work on this to help keep my thoughts organized. You may also want to create a Scholastic news folder if that's something that you would rather do instead. You're assigning it to the folder. If I have the premium version, I am able to schedule. And with that schedule tool, I can assign an activity on a specific date and time. And this allows for me to kind of get my week already planned and organized and not feel like I need to assign an activity every day, because when I assign it immediately, it pushes out to students right away and students will have access to that activity. Assign one to class. And now I'll show you how a student would then access this activity. They'd hit the add response. In order to get that link to read the article or to watch the video, they need to click on View Instructions. In the View Instructions page, it will have the link here, so they'd click on the link. Sorry for the delay, my internet's a little slow today. They would type in their classroom, that exit button, and be able to do the activity with the label tool. And then down here below, with the different creative options, they can draw a picture with any of the drawing tools down below. They can take a picture of a drawing that they created, maybe on pencil and paper with crayons, or they can even record a video or a voice memo about what they learned. After they're done, they would hit the green button to be turned in. With Scholastic News, it's easier to allow for students to go back and forth with that link, but then also with Scholastic News, we know that they have those skill building sheets. So with some of these, it'd be easier into your activities. One way to do that would be through adding an activity again to your account. And for you just add the template as resource upload. And students would then be able to interact with that online with the label tool, photographs, drawings. Do keep in mind though, when you do upload a PDF, it does limit the size and it could make it difficult for students to answer questions if there is too much on that page. This one works out well with the chart because there is space for them to use that label tool and to draw a picture of each of those gross plants. After you're done, you'd hit the green check and you'd be able to upload that PDF as an activity. Scholastic News and other resources into your Seesaw classroom.